When you come onto YouTube and you're looking for some information, let's be honest, there is a ton of bullshit, which can leave you frustrated or because of some poor advice, working really hard and just not getting anything out of it. I wanted to do my own search so that I could see what people see when they come to YouTube looking for answers.
How to lose belly fat in a single night.
In a single night, promising.
Are you ready to hear the most amazing diet ever?
I feel like I need to know this amazing diet, yeah.
You should start right in the morning, 8 a.m. Drink a glass of warm water with some lemon juice. After a couple of hours, take another glass of warm water.
I have an idea. I know where we're going with this.
Then at noon, get yourself a cup of green tea. After an hour, you should drink a glass of cold water with carrot juice in it.
All right, so we're at 3 p.m. here and we've had water and tea. Tell me there's a big meal for dinner at least.
Do you like it so far?
No, so far I absolutely hate it.
At 5 p.m., have a glass of your favorite juice.
All right, 5 p.m., favorite glass of juice. Hopefully this is just like prepping the stomach. I got a big meal coming, I know it.
Take one more cup of green tea. At 9 p.m.
So we skipped dinner, went to 8 p.m., had a cup of tea, and now something's happening at 9.
Grab a glass of water with grapefruit juice in it.
Another glass of water, but we got grapefruit juice this time, so.
Finally, after another hour at 10 p.m., you should finish the diet the way you started it.
And we finished with more lemon water.
But your tummy will become flat in just 24 hours.
Well, I mean, if my tummy's gonna be flat in 24 hours, I guess, yeah, why not, right? Oh, this sucks so much. Enough bullshit for one video, let's get into it. There are 4 phases I'm gonna walk you guys through today that is going to help you lose fat and keep it off. I hope to clear some things up for you guys today, give you the confidence and the knowledge you need so you can get started right away. Everybody always wants to start with fat loss, but that can't be our starting place. We need to make sure that our body is actually healthy so that it's going to respond to fat loss well. If you're someone who's been dieting for a long time, yo-yo dieting, whatever it is, or you just know you're not that healthy because of some of these biofeedback signs you've been given by your body, that should tell you everything you need as to why you need this health phase right now. So we need to lay our foundation and start with some basics. We need to make sure we have a good calorie intake, we're getting enough calories in, we have good micronutrients, we're sleeping well, we're managing stress well, we're moving our bodies, we're recovering well, and overall just feeling good on a day-to-day basis. So that means if you have any symptoms of poor biofeedback, we need to fix those. So that's if your sleep sucks, if you're always super stressed, if your nutrient intake is just not there, if you barely eat. The good news is, in most cases, we can fix all of those symptoms with lifestyle intervention. When everything mentioned prior has been improved, it's time to move on to a new phase, but don't rush through here. This is really the time to lay that foundation. So now would be a perfect time to go get proper blood work and make sure you take your time here, because if you don't do a good job here, you're gonna have a very hard time when we do get to fat loss. This is also not the phase where our #1 priority is putting on muscle. So that is called hypertrophy. It's just called muscle building training basically. It's really not the time for that, especially if you do have low energy, if you're not sleeping well, if you're highly stressed, if you do have any hormonal dysfunction, you want to do something that is a little bit less stressful. So something like a neurological, or that can be called a strength phase, will be a lot more beneficial for you now. So especially like all the HIIT training, running, like high intensity cardio, put that aside. Let's have some lifestyle interventions to improve your biofeedback, and then we can add that stuff in the future when it's actually going to benefit you. You should have some form of protocol in place that you stick to for a period of time until you feel good enough to move on to the next phase. Here are some things to have in place. You want to have a training plan that is going to complement improving biofeedback. So again, probably not hypertrophy training here, and if it is, probably just lower volume. You will want a calorie goal that has you at maintenance calories, and you want to make sure you're hitting your micronutrient needs. Have yourself a water intake goal, have a step goal, and really start to pay attention to that biofeedback. Make sure you give the health phase the time it needs. Check off all the boxes that you have to, and we will get to fat loss eventually. But for now, let's go to phase #2. The goal here is not only to build muscle, but also to build your metabolic rate. The more you eat, the more you burn, to an extent. This can be seen when we break down TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure. So all of these can increase as you eat more. Obviously, thermic defective food will increase because you're just eating more food. Your BMR can go up, not as much as people say it can, but it will go up to some degree just by putting on muscle mass. And then your NEAT will increase just subconsciously because you have more energy, you can expend more. And then hopefully your EAT, your exercise activity, will also go up because you have more energy, just so therefore you can train harder and recover harder as well. This is likely where you'll want to be doing that hypertrophy training to put on some muscle. If you're not doing hypertrophy training, you'll be wanting to do something that is potentiating greater hypertrophy in the future. So that just means when you do something now, which could be metabolic training to improve conditioning, in the future, that will improve your hypertrophy training because how good your conditioning is because you did the metabolic training, right? So now when you go to hypertrophy, you can handle higher volumes and recover from it. Here, it's okay to do that metabolic training or neurological training because we know in the future, it will lead to greater gains within the hypertrophy phase when we get there. Nutritionally, you're going to want to support this by being in some degree of a calorie surplus. Also, by adding calories every few weeks, hopefully we will see some increases in your metabolic rate. So again, because you are eating more, you are able to expend more. Make sure you give yourself some time here to see some growth, to let those metabolic adaptations happen, and then we're going to be in a really good spot heading into phase number 3. First thing first in this phase, you may actually want to jump back to maintenance after your building phase just for a week or two to deload, and that can be to like physically deload your body, your joints, your connective tissue, your ligaments, or it can be like psychological, to give yourself that break, a little bit of downtime where you pull back on the volume, the intensity of things before you start ramping up this fat loss phase. So something to consider there. Now, this is where all of your hard work really pays off. You're healthy, you have more muscle, your metabolic rate is higher, you have more energy, and you're able to handle higher amounts of stress. Now, the goal within fat loss is not only to lose fat, but also to maintain biofeedback. I say biofeedback so often because it's so important. If you don't feel good, if you're not getting those good signs and signals from your body, it's a matter of time before your body makes those negative adaptations, and fat loss is going to be halted. Not that you can't get it going again, but it's going to make it so much harder. Not a lot has to change within fat loss like a lot of people think. You don't have to start running, you don't have to starve yourself, you don't have to cut carbs. All we have to do is eat in a calorie deficit. Now, you can either create this calorie deficit by lowering your food intake, so you're consuming less than you are expending, or you can do it through movement, so increasing your steps, or by adding some actual cardio. Although on the surface, fat loss can sound so simple, when you actually get into it, it can be very difficult, especially if you're not looking after that biofeedback. Now, imagine how tough it would be to lose fat if you're not sleeping well. Because you're not sleeping well, during the day your energy is super low. Because of all that stress on your body, you're getting sent these hunger signals, which are giving you these cravings that you fall into. So these are your signs initially, not being able to sleep, having low energy, having higher stress, why negative adaptation can happen. But then with the cravings, the hunger hormones kicking in, that just shows how your progress can be derailed because of not taking care of the biofeedback. For training, neuro or metabolic training, I believe will be best here. Or again, you could do hypertrophy just at your minimum effective dose volume. This is not an optimal place to be building muscle. Is it possible? That's another video. But like I said at the beginning, let's focus on one goal at a time. The goal right now, the phase we're in, is fat loss. So let's focus on fat loss. You can move on from this phase when you've achieved your goal, obviously. That would be a great time to move on. Or if you do need a physical or mental break. You can also use strategies such as refeeds, diet breaks, carb and calorie cycling to make the process easier. Phase 4 is always forgotten, and it's so important. If you want to sustain your results, all the hard work you put in, you can't leave out phase number 4. You always need an exit strategy. This is commonly referred to as the reverse diet. You can come out of that deficit and you can jump right back to maintenance. Just know the maintenance that you had before fat loss is likely not your maintenance now, because there will be some negative adaptation to an extent. So either add a few hundred calories of food back, reduce your step count, remove some cardio, but make sure you do it slowly. Just like in the building phase where we added calories every few weeks or so, we want to do the same thing in the reverse diet. We can add more food every few weeks, or we can take away some movement, some steps, some cardio every few weeks. You want to keep doing that until you find your maintenance, where your weight stays the same, you're eating a good amount of food, your step goal, your cardio goal is something you can maintain moving forward. We want to make sure we reestablish maintenance, we see biofeedback improvements, and we have happy hormones. Now, not everyone needs to start at phase 1. You may already be healthy, but you may need to put on muscle or build your metabolism, so you can jump right to phase 2. Some people may be healthy, they may have a good metabolism and have lots of muscle, so hey, jump right into fat loss. You just need to evaluate yourself, see where you are, and jump into whatever phase makes most sense for you. You do not need to be perfect with this. The only 2 things you need, and I promise, they're only 2 things, you need to be consistent and you have to be patient.